If you take today's hui, this is the final stage of the hearings. But our hearings really started in 1835 and 1840. He whakaputanga te treaty. When the settlers came over here, they came here to know what is it that this land of the white cloud is Aotearoa. So our tupunas knew what they were doing in their own nation, and that was being businessmen, corporate people, call it what you like. At the end of the day, they knew how to run their country. But when the settlers came here, they're saying, no, we can do it better, but we want to work with you. So the discussions took place, and from the whakaputanga became te tiriti. Te tiriti means that they said they will work with us and help us, and we will help them. But you look after yourself, we look after ourselves. So the outcome to that has been a conflict since day one, since we signed te tiriti. Why? It's because when we signed it in Ngāpuhi, they sort of changed the writing on it, changed the way of what they saw in the paper and the document that we talk about, the treaty, what we got today. So that's our hearings from what we talk about, the end of this hearing at Otiria Marae, at Porowini. What do I think of the process? Really, Māori has got no other process but to talk about the concept of what tauiwi are all about. And we used it, and I use those words as good as I can get, because it is a tauiwi process. Now, if Māori had to sort it out, we'll sort it out with our whanaungas in hapu to hapu, because it was hapu that decided and made note of their rohe boundaries, of their moana, of their whenua, and what did we do to help trade one another's relationships between that. It became marriage, it became talking, it became economic. So it was a very strong economic area to work in. Why? Is because Russell was more like a port stop for the settlers, for sailors, and they brought in the booze, and the Māori never saw that booze before, and they started drinking booze, and they started to get really overwhelmed by it, that they were starting to make deals that they weren't aware of what is really getting into this habit of what Pākehās were doing here in the first place. So this process, again, as I said, is to determine what was it really about that Māori are saying here. What statement are we really making? Did we cede our mana to the settlers? And I think you'll get a clear indication of all the huis that we've had was no. It's about acknowledging you as a hapu person, and what it really means about your whakapapa, your tātai, your tupunas that you never really heard about until the last, say, 20 years, when our old people used to tātai in the maraes, their whakapapa, their genealogy. And they only did that when the tūpapaku was on the ground, because they knew there was an interest between me and you, that we had a common interest, and that was the whakapapa. So that whole thing brings us alive. So we know that where we talk about, when we talk about certain hapu, we know who the whānau tupunas were there. So we respect those people, and we acknowledge them. And it's like going back over there and say, well, hey, e whanonga, I see you got a lot of power in your moana. Can we share some that we can have the nahere in our area where we can share and all that. So it's all that total of sort of exchange of whanangatanga that builds us up to who we really are. And I think marriedom is catching on to this kōrero. Stage 2, negotiation is like asking back what we lost. Asking back our nahere is over there, but Doc own it. Or our moana is there, but you're only allowed to take 6 per person, or you're allowed to take 4 per person. So those negotiations is sometimes set amongst the hierarchies of the Māori world, but live in Wellington and tell the Crown or the governments this is how we operate. So they set the policy, they set the direction, no consultation with the hapus. So in other words, there's DOC, or there's the MAF giving out permits that actually strips your rights in your own rohe to determine what is the feeling amongst your own people. Have we got enough kaimoana to survive another onslaught of what really determines us as Māori, you know? And all it is really is just paying that word respect. Respect one another's whenua, respect one another's nahere, and respect the people that actually have the rohe rights. Because they say the word is kaitiaki. Kaitiaki doesn't give you a piece of paper to write on your name that you own it. Kaitiaki gives you a right to look after for the next generation and the next generation. And that to me is the mana of that hapu, of that whānau.
You know, it's the only thing we've got to get to this point, is the process that they've got in place, you know. So it's the only process, I guess, that we'll get some kind of recognition as to what we're trying to say to everybody, you know. But I think the evidence is clear that what Ngāpuhi has been saying is really what Ngāpuhi has been saying all along, you know. Well, you know, I think what's being said at the moment is like the truth is being told right now, you know. It's never been told this way before. So I think, you know, the idea around the truth being told, like as stated by some of our council, you know, the truth will put it right, mate. You know, so all Ngāpuhi has to do is tell the truth, I think. Yeah. Well, you know, how are we going to keep our children informed from here on out, you know, as to what actually did happen? You know, I mean, it's been 170 years of bullshit, you know, for Ngāpuhi. Excuse the expression, but that's what it is. You know, and it's like we want our children to know the truth. And the second stage is actually getting that on record. So all our children can refer back to it. Because at the moment, all we've had to rely on is their histories, you know, until people like Ballage and Ann Salmon come along and telling the truth as it is, you know. So we'd like to keep it on, you know, have that record in place for our children, for our many generations to come. And of course, I hope that we succeed in putting it into place for all of Māori domain.